Hey everyone, Kaiser Soze here, Maximum Carnage. I've got a video here that I'm going to show today, which is for drag attackers at Town Hall 8. So there's been a few attacks. We're in a war right now, but our previous war has a few attacks that I thought just could highlight a few things. There's a lot to drag attacks to be able to, understand and appreciate, but I thought there was at least a couple of solid attacks on different bases, so I'm just going to show a few here so people can see what the differences are. So I'll pause here just before it starts, and we can check out this is a Town Hall 8 base. It looks like it's got level 5 air defenses. Level 3 drags are coming at it by Niv, and he's using lightning. So the lightning, there's a couple of things just in terms of lightning. You can use 3 lightning to take out an air defense, or dependent upon the level of the lightning and the level of the air defense, you can use 2 lightning and a quake to finish it off. So if you're not familiar, you don't know what level you need for which levels of air defenses, you can ask one of us kind of thing, and we'd be able to let you know. Here he's got level 5 lightning, so 2 level 5 lightning and any earthquake, any level kind of thing, will take out a level 5 air defense. So he's going to do that, and by doing that he then can save a spell and therefore use a rage on his drags, which is a smart thing to do. Also, we could tell right now, because that lightning spell is dropping, he's taking away the lightning towards 9 o'clock. So that would mean that he's going to either want to attack evenly across these 2 remaining air defenses, or in Nib's case, what he does is he ended up dropping loons up near these 2 collectors, and they come in at the side to support the drag. So I'm just going to let it run here. You can see the 2 lightnings end up being dropped. Significant damage. Earthquake comes down to be able to finish it off. So he still has an earthquake. He puts it down to be able to take some of the hit points out of the other air defense, and now he brings in his drags. And starting, even there, he didn't just dump them all on one tile. He started literally at 6 o'clock, just towards the 7 o'clock. That's the very first drag that's being dropped. So because that drag is dropped first, the hit points associated with what was under it allows that to disappear first, moves to the army camp. The other drags then collapse in and amongst themselves. So he is not attacking at a corner here, even though the first drag was dropped at a corner. That's just to make sure that the other drags stay towards the inside and have a chance at going to the core. So there's a lot of drags you can see that are really targeting this one air defense down at 6 o'clock. But because he hasn't attacked at a corner, they're not spreading and separating in a V pattern. You can see now the loons come in just above 3, along with a rage spell, and that rage then forces the loons not only to deal with the 1 cannon that was out there, but then quickly be able to get to that second air defense and take it out. So using the lightning or lightning and quake to take out the furthest or toughest, hardest to get at air defense, coming in with drags and then using loons in support. You don't have to put balloons directly behind drags. Normally you would want the drags to be able to tank a little bit for those loons, because the drags have more health to be able to help get the loons in there. And Niv had commented on it, just saying that if you had just waited a minute until that air defense had been distracted, it would have held up those loons a little bit longer. But having said that, this is an easy 3-star attack. Lots of drags still left. No problems, no question whatsoever. So that was a good use of loons in support of drags, and then also a good example of using lightning with quake. Alright, so if we go back, I just want to make sure I don't pop out of this war, because this is the previous war. So if we go back, we're going to show, where is he? Clank. So he's got level 1 dragons, and then level 4 lightning, so it's low level lightning. So he is just going to take out the only air defense that's on this base. So naturally, drags are going to have a pretty easy time with it. This is more about the funneling. So you could see that by taking out, we're just going to pause it here, he's burned off this 1 space. And by burning off that space, that's created a hole. And the drags now around this outside will not start veering towards the left. They cannot go from 6 o'clock up towards 9 o'clock anymore. There's just no opportunity for that. And you can see up here, he's taken out this trash building, and this mine is almost taken out as well. And it's just a way of forcing these lower drags to push directly into the base and not start funneling or getting distracted, not funneling and going around. So the big thing and the big key to remember with funnels is you want to start burning stuff away on the outside of where you want your drags to go. If you leave some trash in the middle, those are the breadcrumbs for the drags to follow to be able to get into the base. So many people just put the drags in one spot, and what ends up happening is the drags then just go to the next building, and then they're at the whim of the pathing, and that's really dependent upon the base design. So you can have some well-designed bases that you will end up just having your drags stray. So it's an easy 3-star here. No question, that air defense was going down anyway. Not a huge amount of funneling needed to be able to make sure those drags went where he wanted. But if he had just held down at 6 o'clock, deployed all the drags in one spot, they literally would have gone up in a V shape amongst the base. And when you get that V shape and the drags going towards the outside, things can literally start picking them off. So here we've got an example by Ryan, who's been doing great, and he's got some great 3-star attacks for us. So he drops lightning and takes out the furthest air defense. Now he's got 2 to deal with, and it's always going to be best, and again, if we just stop it here for 1 second, we imagine a Niv's attack. What Ryan can do here, potentially, is focus on coming in, just on that one air defense here, anywhere between 3 and 6 o'clock, pathing those drags straight, and then deploying balloons in a clan castle, say right behind these 2 barracks. If he does that, the balloons are going to path from this mortar towards that second air defense, and he wouldn't want to put down that clan castle until the air defense starts shooting at the dragons. But by doing so, it becomes just 2 points before those loons in support of the drags come up to be able to help out. So Ryan here has taken out 2 internal army camps, and he has dropped all the rest of the drags now. So what ends up happening is the funnel, just watch what happens. There is no funnel, so the drags now take out the center spot, and they start moving up and moving out. And you can see the drags now spreading on both sides, further and further apart, and now they're engaging those army camps even at the back end. So the air defenses are easily able to pick off the drags. Drags work well in a group. They're slow moving, although they're high damage. You need a group of them to be able to do enough damage to be able to move through a space with a certain amount of quickness. Otherwise, they're naturally just at the whim here of 2 air defenses. So the air defenses themselves made quick work of those drags with no opportunity, and that's just purely a result here of the lack of the funnel. And again, the funnel here to be made wasn't with the external army camps down low. It could have even been the army camp here that was in the middle. That would have been a little bit better. But the important thing to note about the pathing here is that attacking at corners, unless you have a real clear burn path to the outside, all that's going to happen is your drags, as soon as they start working their way to the core, are going to start veering off in separate directions, and you certainly don't want that. So, in the same war, and actually the same base, just as a way of illustrating the attack on 16, so he starts off, again, another thing to note, corner buildings you always have to pay attention to. So instantly, he's got a drag going down in one of the corners, a drag going down in another corner, Barb King in another corner. The worst thing you can have is, the last 30 seconds run out because your drags have to go corner to corner. They fly so slowly. So Stosh is conscious of this. He takes care of that right off the bat, so it's just a non-issue. And now you can see what he's focused on is down at 6 o'clock. He's created a big hole there, so these drags are not going to stray down to 6 o'clock. The nearest buildings for them are going to be in the base. Up here, he's put a couple of early drags as well, right behind 3 o'clock. And what that means is that all the drags that he's now placed in the center are going to start pushing into the base as opposed to going around it. So the clan castle pops. He has used the lightning here. And the lightning takes out one air defense, so he's got two that are remaining coming in behind the sweeper. And now you can see that he has deployed loons in the clan castle behind the drags. So one thing just to be mindful of, again what we were talking about before, you don't always have to deploy the clan castle right behind the drags. Up here, and much like what Niv did, as soon as this air defense engages, if you can imagine putting this clan castle right behind these two collectors, it would then travel to a high target, a high value target, which is this archer tower, and then from that archer tower either the air sweeper or right to that air defense. So you can see the pathing here of the loons, and if those loons had have just been deployed behind those collectors, you can imagine they would have just come in at an angle and been able to support those drags a little bit more. But the big example about this isn't the use of loons as much as it is the dragon pathing. Naturally, these are level 2 drags, not level 1 like what Ryan had, and that helps and it makes it more powerful. But the few things, just making sure the corners are, you pay attention to the corners right off the bat, and then the difference in the path of the drags ultimately led to this base being completely crushed without any problems whatsoever. And that's just how you force those drags, by burning out holes. In this case, burned out one at 6 o'clock, burned out one at 3 o'clock. When you put the rest of the drags evenly between 3 and 6 o'clock, all of them just worked uniformly through the base. They didn't veer starting at 6 working towards 3 or starting at 6 and working towards 9, because that's certainly what you don't want. All right, and now we are going to leave this and go to today's war. So we're in war right now. And the number 20, who is taken care of by Ian 11 for us. So he's got level 3 drags. And he is using Rage. And Rage is certainly effective up until level 6 air defense, although I would never really recommend using Rage as this is used. Again, easily sweeping across the base, you lose a lot of the pathing of the drags themselves, although level 3 drags should easily be able to overpower a Town Hall 7. Deploying the Rage like that and so much overlapping and so much space doesn't really take advantage of it. So we'll see what happens as these drags go through, working in the base, and pay attention to this air sweeper and the last remaining air defense that's there. So what he had in the clan castle was a max loon and a max drag. And I'm just going to put it on 2 times so we can see. Now the sweeper's deflecting the drags. You can see they took them off the storage, off the close thing, and literally has worked the entire pack of drags by pushing it with that air sweeper. Is just wreaking havoc. Those are max drags for Town Hall 8. Level 3 drags, and here is a max drag, that's a level 5 that was in the clan castle, all the way through. And much like salmon trying to swim upstream, these drags are forced to work incredibly hard. The corners weren't paid attention to either, so let's speed it up even more. And we could see, and I knew that he had it because he had enough time to be able to get there, although it's naturally close. You never want to leave it that close, and you shouldn't have to. So, I'm going to just hit play again. And now imagine this same exact attack, but with no clan castle. So let's say he does not drop his clan castle, because he puts it in right here, it's another drag in terms of with all the drags. So let's imagine exactly the same attack, but he does not drop that clan castle, and he's got the drags there. The corners can be paid attention to, right? You can just drop a Barb King on one at least of those corners, or in the better way, doing what Stosh did, start off with a drag on each of the ones. In this particular case on this base, one at 3 o'clock, one at 9 o'clock. Later you can drop your Barbarian King up at the one at 12 o'clock and they're all gone. You don't even have to worry about them at all. But we just imagine for an instant, again, this exact same attack happens. except for right now. You can see this air defense is now beginning to fire. Now imagine one less drag in this pile of drags, and he just puts his clan castle right over by this army camp. The air sweepers are defense. The loons are going to target the air sweeper, and the air sweeper is going to get taken out first. And then from here, the loons are now going to target the air defense, and the air defense is targeting the drags. So that air sweeper would be gone, this last air defense would be gone, and how much easier would that attack have been made? You don't have to do anything differently. I mean, we can all argue about whether or not rage should be used, if it's the best thing, whether or not certainly to use it in that manner on that type of a base at Town Hall 7, or if there's better or more efficient ways to be able to use it. But the point is, you could still have done that, and simply by dropping the clan castle in a more strategic place to be able to give you a better bang for the buck, would have solved a lot of problems in this raid, that's for sure. And time is a big factor in terms of drag attacks on, in some cases and on some bases. And here he literally was down to his last drag, and if the air sweeper and that air defense had been taken out, it would have been able to burn through this base a lot quicker. All right, so that's all I've got for drag attacks today. I'm going to get, there is a funneling 101 video that I do have up that you can take a peek, although it talks about, go wipe attacks or funneling golems in. The same things apply to drags. If you want to funnel your drags in, take one or two drags, burn off some outside buildings, and those are just sacrificed. Sacrifice those drags to make sure that they burn off places that no other drags will be able to go there, forcing the drags to follow the either the buildings or the trash, the army camps, whatever ends up being left, to be able to get them into the base. Avoid attacking at corners when you can. Pay attention to what's in the corners. Starting off with a drag on each of the corners and letting them work into the middle may be a great way to start off some of that pathing in those burn sections. All right, so that's it for drag attacks now. I'm hoping to piece another one together on Govaho or Govalo attacks. Whether or not it's in the next couple of days, I'm not sure, but I want to be able to have that out soon. All right, Kaiser Soze, Maximum.